Speaking of truth, it is now my extreme pleasure to introduce to you one incredible young woman who is living her truth and is an inspiration to countless, including me. You may recognize her from HBO's recent documentary, 15, A Quinceañera Story, or from other hits like Raising Zoey and Laverne Cox Presents The T Word. Please help me welcome to the stage HRC Youth Ambassador, Zoey Luna.
Thank you so much for that warm welcome. Oh wait, sorry. And thank you, Nikos. The world needs more sassy teachers like you. I'm 16 years old, and even though I live in California, a state with a wide range of LGBTQ protections, including inclusive policies for students and teachers, I still feel unsafe and unsupported in school. Many of my challenges are with the teachers and administrators, not the other students. And just because the state law protects us students, there's still a lack of training to help educators understand and address their own biases. Many don't even know what sexual orientation or gender orientation means. Others are visibly uncomfortable with terms like transgender and queer, let alone working with LGBTQ students. And for a 16-year-old Latina girl like me who transitioned when I was in 5th grade, all kinds of biases can come into play. I've been through the ringer, especially since elementary school. In 4th and 5th grade, I was bullied by students and teachers. I was trying to stay on top of my homework and study for tests while I was also trying to understand who I was. The teachers only made it worse. Some made direct comments toward me about being too feminine. Others cut me out of opportunities, and there were several who would just look the other way when I was being harassed by other students. At times, it felt like the world was against me. The school district even threatened to expel me in order to prevent further bullying. But I did have one amazing supporter, my mom. She reached out to the ACLU, and they connected us with an attorney who worked on Seth's law. Enacted in 2012, the law was named after a 13-year-old boy who endured years of anti-gay bullying, and it required public schools in California to update their policies and programs to protect LGBTQ students. We had one horrendous school board meeting, but because my mom had filed a complaint with the United States Department of Education, I wasn't expelled. Now I'm hearing stories about Trump's Department of Education not standing up for transgender students. That makes me incredibly sad because after our complaint was filed, school became so different. My teachers received training, and ultimately we won the case just before my first year of high school. I was finally Zoey, and life was so much brighter. For a lot of kids, middle school can be a tough time. For me, it was wonderful. But a monsoon was heading my way. Puberty. Now, for just about any kid, puberty is tough, but for trans Latinx kids, puberty is a whole other ballgame. There were all these expectations for what a Latina girl should be. I wasn't prepared for my body changing the way it did. My baby fat disappeared. My skirts and cardigans didn't fit the same way. I'd wondered if I would even have a quinceañera, or start dating like my friends were. I had daydreamed about the first date, imagined holding his hand, and smiled when I thought of our first kiss. And it all happened. But then his friends found out he was dating the trans girl, and the fairy tale was over. They started bullying him, and he dumped me, loser. Anyway, at that point, I felt ugly and gross. And like nobody would ever love me. I thought I was secure with my identity, but I wasn't prepared for dealing with these challenges that came up with growing up. Soon the things I once loved, they were dull and annoying. All I wanted to do was float away from the world I knew and become someone completely different. So I did. I put up a wall, put on a new persona. I was the tough, pretty girl. I found a boyfriend who cheated on me from day one. And long after our breakup, we were still physical because I just wanted some kind of connection. With high school starting, I hoped things would get better, but they didn't. It wasn't soon after high school started that a boy sexually assaulted me. I'll never forget that moment, and far too many young women have moments just like this, moments we'll always remember. Soon I drifted more and more from things that really mattered to me. It felt like I was submerged in water all alone. I sought out any escape, even if it was unhealthy. But then last summer, I went on a trip to Tacoma, Washington, and all I can say is that it felt like rehab for my soul. I met people who treated me like more than just the transgender Latina girl with a pretty face. People were interested in who I really was, and I wanted to share that with them. I had only had one experience like that before with my middle school teacher. She was a drama teacher. She didn't make my gender identity or my Latina identity define who I was. She tried pushing me out of my comfort zone. She made me feel valued not because I was transgender, Latina girl, but simply because I was Zoey. With her, she gave me a new way of thinking about who I could be, beyond the check boxes I thought I had to define myself because I'm a transgender Latinx girl. I think a lot of transgender and Latinx kids see very limited possibilities for our lives. We see the stories of violence and trauma, and when we do see the success stories, they're often sequestered to the world of fashion and entertainment. This trip to Tacoma, it helped me remember all that my drama teacher had taught me. I'm finding ways to stay rooted in that place, where I am secure in who I am, where I am guided by my values. As an HRC Youth Ambassador, I'm embracing my role as an advocate. I want the young people who may be trying to float away to see the world that's rich with possibility, where they can be seen for their whole selves. And even when they're confronting sexism and racism and harassment, they can persevere. All of you, for all your students, you're their middle school drama teachers. You're their Tacoma trips. When you go back to your schools and communities, make sure they know they're not alone. You can tell them Zoey sent you. Thank you.